Finally, I got all the new essences for Blood Knight, and last night on my live stream I tried to come up with the new best build for dungeons and raids. And there are two build options that we can use. I will show you both of them so you can try and use the one you like. First, I will show you the damage of my old build on the training dummies, and I am using 4 pieces of Vitus and 2 pieces of Banquet, and I will use this same set item setup for the new builds as well. Now let's check out the old build for a minute. As you can see, I dealt 65.6 million damage in a minute with the old build and almost 1.1 million damage per second. Now let's check out the first new build option and see how that one performs here. I will show the build after the damage test. As you can see, this build dealt 97.5 million damage in the same time and 1.6 million damage per second, which is way higher than the old build, but this build has some flaws. First one is this new Shroud of Night essence, which is only really good against enemies that doesn't move around that much. Since most of the dungeon bosses stay at the same place, it shouldn't be a problem though. And the next issue is the build is very single target focused. We don't even have Siphon Blood, which makes it a little slower to clear pack of mobs. Plus we are not able to use one of our main ant essences because we don't have any essence that fits this build. So in conclusion, if you want the highest single target damage build, this is one you can try. Plus you have some mobility and iframe with the Sanguinate skill as well. Now let me show you the build in detail. As I said, I am using 4 pieces of Vitus and 2 pieces of Banquet with this build. Warm of Bats and Mephitic Cloud trigger Vitus 4-piece effect, and Mephitic Cloud triggers Banquet 2-piece effect as well. And for the skills we have Shroud of Night, Swarm of Bats, Sanguinate, Mephitic Cloud and Shadow's Edge. Now let's talk about the legendary items. For the headpiece we are using the new essence. Mephitic Cloud releases a blood red mist to choke enemies to death. Continue dealing damage to enemies within the area while also increasing your damage done while you remain inside. For the chest, once again we are using the new one. Shroud of Night now conjures 2 immobile shadowy operations that utilize your primary attack to assault nearby enemies. For the shoulders we are using new Torture and Torment. Swarm of Bats now causes a small swarm of bats to circle you. When you use primary attack, a bat swoops down and bites enemies. For the pants we have the new essence once again. Mephitic Cloud also increases your primary attack speed by 30%. For the main ant we have the new Cruel Vendetta, Shadow's Edge damage increased by 38%. And for the off ant we are using Mercy's Plight. This is the only old essence we are using with this build. Shadow's Edge now marks enemies, causing them to erupt for 33k additional damage when reaching 4 marks. And for the additional off ant we have the new Moon Call. Shadow's Edge also increases your primary attack speed by 10% for 2 seconds, taken up to 3 times. And for the additional main ant, this is just a placeholder. As I said, we don't have any useful essence that we can use with this build. And now we can talk about the second build. I think most people will prefer the next one. With this build we don't waste any of the essences, plus since we still have Siphon Blood, clearing pack of mobs feels easier. But when I tested it on my live stream, I didn't really see a crazy difference. We are still using the same set items, 4 pieces of Vitus and 2 pieces of Banquet. Now first let's test it on the training dummy. As you can see, this one dealt almost 9 million damage in a minute and 1.5 million damage per second, which is a little lower than the first build I showed, but like I said, this one might feel better to clear pack of mobs. Only downside of this build is we don't have any movement skill, so it might feel a little bit slow when running around in the dungeons. Now let me show you the build in detail. We already talked about the set items, so I will jump into the skills. We have Shroud of Night with the new chest essence. By the way, if you don't like the new essence, you can still use layered aims or influencer. We have Swarm of Bats with the new shoulders. We are still using Siphon Blood with the old essences. And we have Mephitic Cloud with the new legs, and of course we are using Shadow's Edge primary attack skill with 3 essences. Now let's talk about the legendary items. For the headpiece, since we are using Siphon Blood, we have the Horns of the Hexed. Siphon Blood is no longer channeled and now moves with you, dealing damage and draining the life of nearby enemies. For the chest, we have the new essence. Shroud of Night conjures 2 immobile shadow apparitions that utilize your primary attack to assault nearby enemies. For the shoulders, we have Torture and Torment. Swarm of Bats now causes a small swarm of bats to circle you. When you use a primary attack, a bat swoops down and bites enemies. For the pants, once again we have the new essence. Mephitic Cloud also increases your primary attack speed by 30%. For the main ant, we have Cruel Vendetta. Shadow's Edge damage increased by 38%. And for the offhand, we have Mercy's Plight. Shadow's Edge now marks enemies, causing them to erupt for 33k additional damage when reaching 4 marks. And for the additional main ant, we are still using the old Siphon Blood essence. When Siphon Blood damages the same enemy 3 times, it causes them to hemorrhage, dealing 7.5k additional damage. And lastly, for the additional offhand, we are using the new Mooncall essence. Shadow's Edge also increases your primary attack speed by 10% for 2 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. Other than that, I am using the Weaver Paragon tree for dungeons and raids. I already showed my Paragon setup in different videos, so I won't include that in this one. And I think that's all for this one. These are the Blood Knight dungeon and raid builds I come up with the new essences. If you have any questions or build suggestions, please let me know in the comments and take care.